So again, my name is Erica Oriens. I'm with the Michigan Community College Association, and I'm also joined by Bob Murphy with the Michigan Association of State Universities. Bob, I'm going to unmute you to do a welcome. There you go.
Thank you, Erica. Glad to be here. We're happy that everyone could join us today to learn a little bit more about STAR reporting. I've looked at who's online. We have a couple folks from the state universities, so I will kind of sit back and not keep you too much longer from Tracy. Thanks, Erica.
Thanks, Bob. So we are going to go ahead and jump in. Just a few notes. I'm going to wanted to let you know that this webinar is being recorded, and then we'll be able to post that online. If you were, obviously those of you who are hearing this are here today, but if you have colleagues who are unable to attend, you can share the recording of the webinar with them. We, once again this year, have two speakers from the Center for Educational Performance and Information. Rachel Edmondson and Tracy Fisher will be doing our presentation today on the STAR data reporting. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Tracy and Rachel.
Hello, I'm Tracy Fisher with CEPI. I'm the analyst for STAR, and I work under Rachel. Rachel has recently moved up to my supervisor, and you all know Rachel. So I will be the lead this year on STAR. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me anything. Or you can also direct your questions to the CEPI help desk, and I'll have the email address for that as well. So we wanted to start off by talking about STAR data reporting. We'll talk a little bit about the EEM, how the EEM ties into the STAR reporting, the IHE request for UIC collection and how that ties into the STAR reporting, the STAR reporting itself, and then the changes for this year. Then Rachel will talk about the reports that are published on My School Data as a result of the STAR reporting. So with that, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Arrow down.
Sorry, technical difficulties. There we go.
Okay. So first we'll talk about the Educational Entity Master. It's important that all of the colleges make sure that their EEM page is updated. If you are getting new staff and you have new contacts, presidents, IRs, provosts, registrars, it's really important that you keep that information up to date in the EEM. That's how we contact you with any of our system changes or any of our announcements or information. Some of the different contacts that are in the EEM, in case you didn't know, are the Chancellor, CFO, Dean, the IR. We also have the Assistant IR as one of the drop-down choices, the Data Coordinator for MIPD, President, Provost, Registrar. Also, if you have an interim president, interim position, you can add that as well. The EEM is at www.michigan.gov/CEPI. You can get there by going to our page and then clicking on the Educational Entity Master. You'll need a My Login account to get into the EEM. Not everyone needs to have access to the EEM. The EEM can just be, we just need to make sure your college has an authorized user to make changes, and that authorized user keeps all of your information up to date as it changes. And this is just some information in the PowerPoint about our page for the EEM and the information you can find there. In order to have an authorized user, you need to have a security form filled out and sent in to us. And also you can have as many authorized users for the EEM as you need. And then this is just the page where you can find information. And so for the entity authorized user, this just gives a little bit of information on how to update your page. Once you log into the EEM through the My Login, you'll click on your list of entities, and then you'll click on your college under entity name. this brings up your institution's profile page. Also, on a side note, the EEM is a public page. Everyone can see the EEM. A lot of times we'll get called at CEPI and people will say, I can't see my page, I'm not an authorized user. You don't have to be an authorized user, it's a public page, everyone can see it. So if you want to see what contacts are showing, you can go there at any time. But your authorized user is the one who logs in to make changes, and that's the part that I'm showing you right now. So you'll click on Edit Entity. This takes you down to the bottom of the page where your contacts are, and that's where you can update your new staff. And this is just taking you through those steps. And feel free to let me know if you have any questions at any time. You can also click Details under your contacts, and that's going to give you information, email addresses, that type of thing. Okay, so that concludes for the EEM. We haven't really had any changes to the EEM since last year as far as our database is concerned. We just want to make sure that you update your page if needed. And then now we'll talk about the UICs. So the UICs are what we carry over from the K-12 system, either through e-transcript or just from your K-12 collection. So it's important that the colleges assign their UICs correctly so that we can keep that data picture accurate from K-12 up on through their college experience, yeah. And so in order to obtain the UICs, we have what's called the IHE Request for UIC Collection. It's a separate collection from the STARR and from the EEM. You will need to have access to this. This is probably a review for a lot of you, but in case you have new staff or you have people who are going to be resolving your UICs, they will need to have access to the IHE Request for UIC Collection. And this just takes you through a checklist of how to obtain your UICs.
So before Tracy goes on, I'm going to explain a little bit about the importance of making sure that you get an accurate UIC. This is Rachel. What we are trying to do is making sure that we have that total student record from a student who's attended a Michigan public school from pre-K all the way through post-secondary. And as long as they have attended a public high school, elementary school, secondary, on the secondary side within Michigan, they would already have a UIC, which is a unique identification code assigned to them. Once they are enrolling into the post-secondary institution, like Tracy said, you can either get that UIC from the e-transcript, so the electronic transcript that we have agreement with Parchment now for schools to join in on, or you can get them from going into the MSDS and doing a student search and looking for those through those personal core information, which I think Tracy's going to get to. But the main point here is that it's really important to try to keep that student's record together so that we can provide that longitudinal look with our reports on the My School Data website. So she's going to be telling you the best information moving forward of how to make sure that you're keeping that UIC intact.
So this page just lets you know that it's the My Login where they log in again, just like in the EEM. That's our portal to get into the IHE Request for UIC Collection, part of the MSDS. So we will need a security form for that, for the person who will be doing the IHEs, or excuse me, the UICs. Sorry about that. So we put together this checklist. This is one of our staff at CEPI. We have a couple experts in UIC, and if you send questions in about obtaining UICs, we'll probably direct them to our experts. One of them is Megan Omo, and she put this checklist together. but her suggestions were to become familiar with the IHE request for UIC collection. And we have some really good guides on that page, and we link to it here. I'll send this webinar, the slides out after the presentation for everyone to link to some of these things as a resource. We have the FAQs on the IHE request for UIC page. So you'll have to know your institution's entity number, and there's a process for exporting your files. You can use Excel, or you can manually do each student one by one. And we have a guide for bulk upload, and we have a guide also just for manual upload, and those are found on our site. We also have an XML validation guide to help you validate your data as you upload. There's a schema for the IHE UIC collection. Once you do upload your data, there's a place to review your UICs and then their resolution status. Sometimes they require resolution because our system matches your student with the student we have that has a UIC. So it'll take key factors such as name, date of birth, gender, just a lot of the different demographics, student demographics factors. It'll take those into account, and then it'll try and match your student, and that's where you'll have to resolve. So it'll give you lists of UICs. So you'll have a list of the UICs that were changed, the list of the new UICs, and the list of the resolved UICs. Just one second, I need to get some help here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you can review and resolve your records that require resolution. When requesting a new UIC, your potential matches will come up. Usually the only time we do grant new UICs are if the student is coming from homeschool, out of state, or has never been in the school system before. Otherwise, we would probably deny a request for a new UIC. So those are really the only three instances. And we just kind of gave you a little note here about how if you're requesting new UICs, we don't want you to say something like it's a different person or something like that. We want to hear, yes, confirmed they're from out of state, they're from homeschool, or they've never had a UIC before for a certain reason. And just some more tips on how to update your local system and how to obtain the UICs. Another issue that we have is sometimes when you're resolving your UICs, what can happen is there will be two different UICs for a unique student, and maybe one thing about the record doesn't match, such as gender or just some one thing that doesn't match. Sometimes students have more than one UIC associated with them. It's really important that we link these UICs so that we've actually had some examples with some colleges where they weren't linking their UICs and they were submitting their students and they were getting duplicate students because it was the same student, it just wasn't linked. Once a UIC is created, it can't be deleted, it stays with that student. So sometimes though what ends up happening is through the match process, you'll submit it, you'll get a UIC, and then you'll think that doesn't match, and you'll create a new UIC. But it's important that we do what's called link these two UICs together, like I said, because that's going to keep your enrollment numbers in the STAR, and through your other reports, it's going to keep your enrollment more accurate. So that's just something to be mindful of, and we have instructions on how to link the UICs as well. And so that's basically just kind of a summary of what we wanted to tell you this year about the IHE request for UIC collection. And now we're going to talk about STAR a little bit. Everyone can still hear me, right?
Yep, we can hear you fine.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so we just kind of outlined the components that are in the STAR. I know this might be a review for a lot of you. The good news is this year nothing has really changed with our schema. It's the same schema. We're just giving a little summary on how to use the CSV to XML conversion tool, step by step. depending on what student information system you use and if you need to use that or not. So here's where our resources are. We have our post-secondary applications page. We have our manuals, our STAR data manual, our STAR user guide. We have, under the technical material, we have our schema and our sample. And we have our STAR data field layout document, our business rules, and then the tool. They're all found on this page. Again, you have to have access to MSDS to be able to submit your STAR. So for new staff, make sure you have security agreements submitted for them. They'll log in to My Login. That's the portal where they'll go. That's where the EEM is, and that's where the MSDS is. On the left menu, once you're logged into the MSDS, you'd click Student Data Submission, and then you can upload your STAR file. The STAR is open. It opened yesterday. And then once you upload, you want to browse to where your XML file is stored. You'll upload your file. It's important to utilize the user notes in case you have more than one upload. So you can check the status of your uploaded file by going to Uploaded File Status. And then you can see whether your file processed successfully or whether you had errors. We have a new functionality this year, which is a download feature in the staging area. You can either download your entire collection or you can download record by record. This is helpful because in the event that you have one error for one student and you just want to download that one student, you can check the box that says select and then click download selected. You can download that student's record, fix your XML file. It's going to download an XML file for you. You can fix it and then you can upload that student again. And you don't have to upload the entire collection. That's kind of nice. And basically that's just kind of a summary I wanted to do for the STAR. For STAR 1819, we have the following changes. Like I said, we have no schema changes. But we do have a couple of updates. We have the course academic grade scale according to the PESC guide. If you put the wrong enumerations in, like it used to take 99, it won't take 99 anymore. It takes now 1 through 89, and then the following. So you want to make sure you have your system updated to have the correct codes. We had a couple business rule changes. We changed the warning from 50 years for the academic session to 85 years. This is going to be an error next year. It's just a warning this year. We have another new error, which is if degree or certificate seeking student is yes, then the enrollment and post-secondary award level is required. All codes except for 0. Okay, so this is actually an error this year. So it's 2 business rules, AS 016 and AS 017. We have another one, the academic award date cannot be greater than August 31st. This is a warning this year. We'll be sending out data quality alerts if you have dates that aren't matching up. Next year it's going to be an error. So that's just saying your awards can't go past August 31st of the current collection year. That's basically it for our changes. And another link to our changes here. Some key dates this year. The STAR opened yesterday, July 29th. The snapshot date for the first mid collection is going to be September 3rd. We'll send out data quality alerts on September 9th. We'll have another mid collection snapshot date of October 1st. We'll send out more data quality more data quality alerts on October 7th. And then the STAR will close on October 15th. And just like last year and every year, it's all students enrolled in courses between July 1 and June 30th, and then the awards up through August 31st of the current calendar year. Does anyone have any questions?
I'm going to do it in here real quick because I want to go back to a few slides and just explain some things. Where is that at? First, I want to see if there's anything in here. Here. Oh. All right. Just to explain some of these business rules real quick. So going back a few slides, I know you don't have a copy of the PowerPoint yet, but we'll make sure we send that out for you later. What we found last year was that the pest guide was updated at some point, and we must not have caught it on time, where they used to have the grade scale codes from, it was 1 through 99, and it was changed where they're only now 1 through 89, and then there's like these other off numbers like 500 to 507 and off and on up to 540. And what those grade scale codes are doing is telling us how your college has your grade coding system set up. So it's important that you make sure that you're mapping it accurately to match what you're reporting in the course component for your grades that are being reported. So if you have like, if you report with A's or with grade points, what are some other ones? You could be just saying that it was a pass, fail, or something like that, and all of those grade scale codes that are in the pest guide would end up mapping back to those. So just a little bit of explanation as to why that was changed, and it was to align with the pest guide. The other change that we had for our business rule was the academic session end date should not be more than 85 years prior to the current day, month, and calendar year. So it used to be that we had that as 50 years, and we increased it to 85 years. And the reasoning for that is that we're able to bring in more sessions instead of limiting it to 50, because there was a few colleges that said that they had, some situations that were older than the 50 years, and they wanted to get those in the STAR collection. So that's why we changed that. And because it's this year, it's a warning. Next year, we are going to change that to an error. So just make sure that you're keeping track of those warnings if you're getting them this year in the STAR collection. The other one is, I don't know if I need to talk about these ones necessarily. I just kind of wanted to, so the academic award date cannot be greater than August 31st. So the reason why we're making this, that we're adding this into the system, is because even though we tell the institutions to report all your awards through August 31st, some were reporting awards after August 31st and thinking that we would be keeping them in our system, and then, even though we're not using them to report this year, that we would have it for next year. But what we found out is that those awards won't be held on to. So we want to make sure that you are keeping them in your system to submit them in the right STAR reporting collection, so that you're getting credit for those awards when you should be. So make sure that you're paying attention to that this year as well, as next year we're going to make it an error, and once they become errors, you won't be able to submit those records or certify until you correct them. Something else I wanted to just talk about real quick regarding the data quality analysis emails that we'll be sending out. Based on some requests that were received from the colleges, we added 2 mid-DQs into the calendar this year, or in the timeline. So we have one earlier and then one a little bit closer to the deadline. So hopefully you'll be able to get your data in in one of those time frames so that you can get your data, looked at to make sure that you're correcting any anomalies that might be occurring in the collection. It's really important to try to get them into one of those, as once we are moving forward, we're not doing as many post-DQ analysis and sending them out, because we're trying to make sure that you're getting everything in by the time it closes and not having have to reopen the collection for you to fix them afterwards. I guess that's all I wanted to go back and say about those things. And now we'll move into the My School Data Post-Secondary Report section. And we should all be familiar with the My School Data website. It's our official public portal for all education data, and it houses over 100 educational reports currently. However, one interesting thing is that the majority of CEPI's post-secondary reporting is published and continues to be one of My School Data's most visited subject matters. So that's pretty impressive. Like that, when we look to see what reports most of the people are hitting, it happens to be our post-secondary reports. So when you go to My School Data, in order to get to those reports, at the top where you see the red arrow pointing to, it says post-secondary. If you click on that arrow down, you can choose if you want to look at the post-secondary by college reports or by high school. And then we have our success rates and then the post-secondary data inventory. So of those reports, we have all of them up to success rates are produced out of what we collect in STARR or through the National Student Clearinghouse. And then the last one is our new community college data collection application, which is the Michigan Post-Secondary Data Inventory. And as you see, I don't know if you've noticed before, but the list is growing on what we're able to show the public and policymakers. So like I said, we have them available by college or by high school, and we have downloadable data files, student pathways, and other data files that are available as well. So as an example, we have the college undergraduate enrollment report. That's going to tell you how many undergraduate students are enrolled, and it'll show you, when you go in there, it'll show you by age how many are enrolled and whether or not they're degree seeking or non-degree seeking, or a prior year Michigan high school graduate. It also can tell you, has your student population changed over the last 5 years, sorry. I'm slurring my words, I'm noticing. So this would be the trend data that we also have available for all of our reports. And as you can see, either enrollment is going up for female, male. It tells you whether or not the enrollment numbers are higher for females or males, and also by the age of 24 and under or 25 and over. We have the college transfer report that can help you to see how many college transfers occur in and out of Michigan colleges. It shows you transfers to in-state public 2 years or transfers into in-state public 2 years or transfers from in-state public 2 years. It also will give you the ability to drill down into those to see who transferred out of your college. So if you are, this is looking at characteristics of in-state public 2-year students who transferred from Oakland Community College. So these students transferred from Oakland, and it will give you a breakdown of the race, gender, and grade point average of those students. One of our, well, it's not really new anymore, but we have the success rates report that helps us to see how long does it really take for students to earn a successful outcome in a Michigan college. And these reports are, you know, giving a good look at the reality of how long it's taking our students to either get an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree in our institutions, and that it's taking longer than that traditional 2 or 4 year outcome that we're used to hearing is supposed to happen. So that report is really interesting to see, and we can also drill down into the success rates report to see what successful outcomes are Michigan colleges attaining. So we look at more than just did they earn an associate's or a bachelor's. We look at if they're in a community college, are they enrolling in a 4-year institution? Did they earn a certificate? You know, also, did they earn a bachelor's degree there? And if they're continuing, and those are all, well, continuing is not included in the success, but all of those different outcomes are taken into account when we're looking at the successes in the community college itself. With our new Michigan post-secondary data inventory collection, which I mentioned is only for our community colleges right now, we're also collecting the tuition and mandatory fees at Michigan community colleges, and with that data you can compare to see, you know, the difference between tuition and fees at colleges with the reports on my school data. Another thing that one of our newest reports from last year was the college degrees and certificates awarded report, which was previously referred to as awards conferred for community colleges in the past. We've added all of our institutions that submit to STARR into the report now, and it gives a pretty good and interesting breakdown of, this is a statewide look that we're looking at now, showing all of the undergraduate certificates, you know, associate's degrees, bachelor's, et cetera, that have been earned, and also give an account by program. So you can do some drilling into these as well to get more information and get more granular. It's a pretty interesting report, and I would recommend that people go in and look into that further. Another interesting thing, if you haven't checked it out already, we've added some more workforce reports to the portal. It originally started as only a population of those who were receiving some sort of funds from Workforce Investment Agency or from like the WIA population, but we opened that up to all students who would be reported into the STARR collection. So we're able to look at those students and see, you know, how their wages are based on their education attainment. So not just STARR students, but also any students that were reported in MSDS at the K-12 level. So if the student only received a high school diploma, or maybe they were also in some CTE programs at the high school level, we can look at what it was they attained and see after 2 years, or what their wages are after 1 year, and then their wages after 5 years. We also look at whether or not the students earned a certificate, associate's degree, or bachelor's degree, and or a master's or higher as well. So pretty interesting stuff that we have out there. There's 4 different reports on workforce out there right now, and I would also encourage you to go take a look at those. We have the Student Pathways data file that's our pretty huge. It's our huge report that gives you pretty much everything you could possibly want about a student's post-secondary data education. So if the student attended your institution at some time, you would be able to go in as a secure user of My School Data and be able to pull their report to see all of their education at the post-secondary level. We have some K-12 information in there, but it's just like the basic, like what schools did they go to. I think there's like some test scores possibly in there, and their graduation year and stuff like that. Something that might be added to this later would be possibly some of their high school course data, but we haven't actually got that far into getting it into the report yet, but it's something that we're talking about trying to do. Here's just a little bit of what some of the reports look like that you could get from Student Pathways. So we have the basic student data file, which is just the basic information on the student, given the UIC, the year in the session that they attended, the college that they were attending, what their enrollment status was, if they were degree seeking. It gives a cumulative GPA, and that's the ACT math benchmark and the MME proficiency, and whether or not they graduated or what their graduation status is. We have a course file that's separate that you can ask for. That'll give you all of the courses that they had at the colleges they attended. And we can also pull files for the programs and awards, so you can see any programs they were enrolled in and any awards that they received at the colleges they attended. In order to get secure access, if you don't have it already, you go to the My School Data website and click on the help at the top. You click on the college and university personnel, and that tells you who has access. This slide's not making sense. And then you would log in. Once you get access, you log in. You would choose Michigan College or University because that's where you're at. And you go to Student Pathways. And then once you request the report that you want, which is the basic, the course, program, or award, they'll be emailed to you, and it looks like this in your inbox. And that sums up the My School Data website. And it looks like we got through this pretty quickly. Is there any questions that anybody has about any of the information that we reviewed today? And again, I will be giving the presentation to Erica and Bob, and they can post it to their website. If you have questions, obviously, you can contact Tracy, and she can either she'll answer the question or send it along to the person who can. And we're always available to help you throughout the whole process of making sure your entity is set up correctly, to getting your UICs and submitting them in STARR, and then the final report that would be published on the website showing your data.
So thank you very much. And like this last slide shows our contact email addresses. We also have stepi@michigan.gov, which is our help desk. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy and Rachel. Like you said, we will, this webinar is recorded, and we will post that on our website and share that information with you. So thank you very much for the presentation, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.